William Littler nominates Harvey Sachs' latest book, Toscanini Musician of Conscience, for what he describes as the definitive biography of a legendary figure in the music world. Years before a tragic earthquake reduced much of the city to rubble, I was invited to L'Aquila in the Italian province of Abruzzo to take part in, of all things, a festival of Canadian music. Organized in part through the good offices of Toronto artists manager Summers Dossina, the festival logically featured a number of Canadian artists, among them an orchestra from London, ONT, conducted by Harvey Sachs. At the time, Sachs, a native Clevelander who had won the Heinz Unger Award in conducting at the University of Toronto, was trying to establish a career on the podium. He conducted ably in L'Aquila, I thought, but a substantial career failed to materialize, and he eventually turned to writing about music, producing 10 well-received books, ranging from studies of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony and music in fascist Italy to a biography of the pianist Artur Rubinstein. The book that established his reputation was a 1977 biography of arguably the greatest Italian conductor of the 20th century, Arturo Toscanini, a figure of legendary stature. Article continued below. Now, 40 years later, Sachs has produced what may come to be regarded as the maestro's definitive biography, Toscanini Musician of Conscience, Livermore, a magisterial 923-page volume that is my nomination for the Music Book of the Year 2017. By a recent count, I have upwards of 24 other books about Sachs's subject in my own, admittedly substantial music library. The Toscanini literature is already voluminous. Yet, as Riccardo Muti, music director of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra and a musician some would call the greatest Italian conductor of our time, indicates, Sachs examines not only artistic aspects, but also political, social and private aspects of the man whom many consider the greatest conductor of his time. In other words, Sachs is nothing if not thorough. He has even produced a chronological list of all of Toscanini's known performances, available online at scribd.com. Someone once told McMaster University's Alan Walker, author of the standard 3-volume biography of Franz Liszt, that it takes a life to write a life. Sachs has come close to validating the statement. As he makes clear at the outset, this is no mere updating or revising of his previous Toscanini biography. In the mid-1990s, a treasure trove of approximately 1,500 letters was discovered, which provided the basis for another Sachs volume, The Letters of Arturo Toscanini, and supplementary valuable insights into the thinking of a man who had rarely granted interviews or written for publication came from 100 taped conversations and previously unavailable archival material. The result is a completely new biography of a 90-year life that began before the invention of the phonograph and the incandescent light bulb and ended at the dawn of the space age. A 68-year career carried out in 20 European, North and South American and Middle Eastern countries, and a private existence that was torn between love of family and erotic recklessness. Like Einstein and Picasso, the volume's dust jacket reminds us Toscanini, 1867–1957, transcended his own field, becoming a figure of such renown that it was often impossible not to see some mention of the maestro in the daily headlines, and, not surprisingly, he had his critics. In a stimulating book titled Understanding Toscanini, Joseph Horowitz interpreted the Toscanini phenomenon in the United States as having been deleterious to the development of the nation's musical life, echoing an earlier accusation by the distinguished German critic Theodore W. Adorno that the Toscanini of the NBC years had been an exponent of a capitalist enterprise, RCA, that was attempting to subvert high culture. Sachs lets the critics have their say while assembling an impressive case for the defense, even calling Toscanini one of the most scrupulous and dynamic opera and concert conductors of all time. Quote, his work as an interpreter was so original and so powerful that it has influenced musicians down to our own day. Generations of conductors, including those who disagreed and disagree with his interpretations, have been the beneficiaries of his reforms in the opera house and concert hall, and his insistence that the performer's job is to come as close as possible to revealing the composer's intentions, rather than to use the music as a vehicle for self-expression, remains a basic principle for many of today's outstanding performers. As the Italians say, bravo.